Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for bringing us together on this beautiful day. We ask your blessings upon our proceedings today. And Lord, we also ask your blessings upon this college as we begin another school year. Please bless our students, our faculty, our administrators, all the career staff who make things happen at this college. Please help them get ready for school to start, and bless our students with the attitude necessary to learn. And Lord, we thank you for all you've done for this college and for the many blessings you have given us. We thank you and give you praise. We ask all this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, trying to get all this stuff done today. So much stuff.
Good morning, and thank you all for being with us this morning. Very much appreciate it. Dr. Law, I believe we have a retirement resolution.
We do, sir.
Could I ask Vernell Jones to join us? There she is. And friends. Okay. So good to see you. Thank you for being here this morning. You have some group of friends here, let me tell you. Okay. Vernell Jones began her career as an OPS worker on the St. Petersburg Gibbs campus of St. Petersburg College, formerly St. Petersburg Junior College, in 1975. And whereas Vernell transferred to the Health Education Center in 1991 as staff assistant to the associate provost. In 1998, she transferred back to St. Petersburg Gibbs campus as a staff assistant for student support services, and now ends her career with St. Petersburg College assistant in the Office of Special Programs. And whereas Vernell has demonstrated long-term dedication, loyalty, and a commitment of 36 years to the mission of St. Petersburg College, assisting students in reaching their academic goals, and whereas Vernell has utilized a wealth of knowledge and information, professional tact, and people skills to create an inviting work atmosphere, she is an exceptional ambassador for the Office of Special Programs. Many people, including students and parents, have commented on her friendliness and service, and whereas Vernell will be missed by her many friends at St. Petersburg College, we wish her happiness in her retirement as she travels, spends time with her family and friends and volunteers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the St. Petersburg College Board of Trustees and the total college community hereby recognize and appreciate the outstanding contributions of Vernell Jones and extend to her our very best wishes for enjoyment throughout the years ahead. This resolution being adopted and approved by the Board of Trustees, St. Petersburg College, 16th day of August, 2011. Congratulations. With the chairman of the board. Okay, and friends can come in behind us.
This is flash.
Looks nice. Looks good. I always got to stand in it. I know my pledge. I know my pledge.
Thank you. Would you like to say just a word or two? No? Okay. 36 years. What a wonderful thing. Good grief.
I move we accept the resolution.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, on to agenda item number 3. I have a very brief presentation to make to our recent past chairman of the board, and Mr. Burke started this tradition last year as he was chair, and we're carrying it forward. We talked a little bit about Ken's great leadership at our last board meeting, and specifically the great recognition that he received. He brings great honor to this institution by his recent appointment to the task force to study higher education in community colleges, and we are just thrilled that he brings his wisdom to this group all the time. He has great dedication to this group, to this institution, to this college, and to its mission, and we were fortunate to have him with us. And so to that end, I have this plaque that reads, presented to Kenneth P. Burke, an exemplary leader and innovative visionary, in recognition of his service as chairman of the Board of Trustees, St. Petersburg College, July 2010 to July 2011.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, so far, this tradition has entailed the two of you giving each other plaques. Is that how, I'm just trying to follow how this works. It's quite a tradition.
Mine was without the gavel.
That will conclude my comments. Thank you, Ken. Mr. Burke, comments?
Yes, Mr. Gibbons and I attended a award ceremony at the Seminole campus just this last week, and it recognized, Jim, help me out, was it approximately 100 students there? And could you, Jim, maybe tell us what those students were being honored for? They were incoming freshmen to our Tanja, he's here too, and whoever's best, or Ann, whoever wishes to do it. And we're going to cut you off.
Yeah, right.
And
give the speech that Jim, give the speech that Jim cut out for you.
We were honoring Presidential Scholarship Award winners. They are coming to us in this new academic year, and we are very pleased with the opportunities that we can offer to these scholars for the wonderful job that they've done at high school, and now we hope to encourage them to do similarly while they are with us.
And it was a very nice event because the parents were there. And also, I appreciate the fact, and I really appreciate this, y'all coached them to dress properly for the event. And people dress up for the event. And it's nice to see incoming freshmen knowing that's part of the learning process.
Yes, sir.
It's how to dress appropriately for a session like that. And so that's a learning lesson right there. And our Honors College was there. And had some of our star students talk, the two-star students.
Alistair is here this morning. Alistair, stand up if you would, okay?
Oh, magnificent job.
He did a wonderful
And he looks good, too.
Yeah. See? You did a magnificent job, young man, with your speech, and very inspiring to the students. And Dr. Law obviously was there, and it was a good event, and
Nice one.
Trustee Gibbons. Did I leave anything out, Deveron?
I think it was great.
The only other things I would like to mention is, first of all, I want to give a little progress report. I'm going to steal Susan's thunder here on our Vet Tech Center on Walsingham, because the thing I love most, we had the big sign go up with the electronic message board, and that's going to be right on Walsingham Boulevard where a lot of cars pass, and it's just great publicity for the college. And I think we're going to have that dedication in October, so that's an exciting event for the college. I live out that way, so I get to see the progress of that building, so I'm reporting that to y'all. The other thing is we had our first meeting of the 21st Century Commission just this past Friday up in D.C. Things went extremely well. It was interesting. The Gates Foundation is the one who is sponsoring underwriting this cause, and we had a bunch of reports in the morning. Then the afternoon was left to the commission talking about the priorities of college, community college. And what's exciting is that it's a lot of the same things we've talked about here at our board meetings. That's the good part about it, is that we're on track with this national thinking. And Dick, like you always say, we should be the leader, and we are the leader in a lot of these things. A lot of the things which were mentioned there as the priorities are the priorities that we're helping to establish here at this college, and so I think we should feel pretty good about that. And in that mode, and I think someone else may touch on this, I want to thank our president for reacting and responding in the proper manner to the heightened publicity our budget got over this past few weeks, and making sure that the budget's on the website. And I went and printed it out, the line-by-line budget. But also, I still think the most important pages are those pages in the beginning which talk about our commitment to student success and the dollars that we've committed to student success. Because that's what it's about. It's not about how much is in the office supply budget for humanities. It's about, are we putting money to where the proper priorities of the college are, especially in the student services and student support. And at the 21st Century Commission, one of the reports was how important that first week of college is for students. And they said that the faculty must be engaged, student services must be engaged to let the students clearly know and clearly define what's expected of them that first week, because that sets the tone for the entire school year. And that's what we talked about in our student success agenda. And then that's what our budget reflects. So anyway, I just wanted to bring up those points.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Burt. Ms. Bilirakis?
And why the St. Pete Times is calling us. What's the problem?
Oh, I don't think it's a problem. I think we're an important part of this community. I take it as a form of praise. What we do matters in the lives of lots of citizens, and if people need to be aware of all those good things, I might write it differently. You might write it differently, but we are. You can't close your eyes and envision Pinellas County without St. Petersburg College.
Well said.
And we touch all the lives, so that scrutiny is well-earned and well-deserved.
And thank you, too, for the other financial information that's out there besides the budget. The financial reports are out there on the internet, and that's very good. And we've learned and become more and more transparent as we go along.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brett.
I just want to thank Dr. Law and the faculty and the staff for the wonderful job that y'all do. And it's all about you all.
Thank
And you make us look good.
Thank you, Ms. Bilirakis. Mr. Johnson?
Two things. One thing I wanted to bring attention to that I didn't previously know is that our chairman is a very unique artist.
Oh, yeah.
You're out of order.
I know that. I generally am, so I'll accept it. But he had an event at Leslie Curran's shop on Central on Saturday night, and all the proceeds went to the Patrick Brett Scholarship Fund. And I was just startled when I looked at the paintings that Terry had done.
Wow.
Some of them were surrealism, which I couldn't understand, but there were a lot of them that were ones that would appeal to me as being a very traditional type individual. And I was surprised at how many of them very shortly had red stickers on beside them. And of course, all those funds, as I understand, are going into that scholarship fund. And Terry, I give you credit on two counts. One, being a painter, an artist, not a painter. Everybody's a painter, they paint their house. But secondly, you're establishing this fund at St. Petersburg College for your son.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And the other thing I wanted to follow, just what Ken was talking about on the budget, and Dr. Law, I want to ask two questions, because I would like to see us put this budget issue to death, or put it away and make it go away. Regarding our budget for the 2011-12 that we approved at our May board meeting, I have two questions. Were we presented with a complete budget at the May board meeting?
The answer to your question is yes, sir.
Okay. Has there been any changes to the overall revenue and expenditures since July and even through today on this budget?
There have been no changes.
Thank you. I hope that puts it all to rest for all of us.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Gibbons?
I was going to talk about the Patrick Brett Scholarship, but I don't want to do that. It might get a little emotional. So
Thank you.
No, I think we had a good week, good over the past month. Mr. Burke talked about the celebration over at Seminole campus, and Dr. Oliver did a great job as usual, and that was a great event. And to Miss Vermel, is she gone already? Vernell? Oh, she's gone already. I just wanted to say thank you for 36 years. She's been a jewel on this campus. In fact, I learned to read on that campus. And she was there when I started, my mother was there and started to read, and then the librarian, Ms. Jones, taught me to read on that campus. So she has been a blessing to a lot of people, and she's going to be sorely missed on that campus and in our family. So I said I wasn't going to do this, but I am, Terry. Thank you for the art show. Thank you for Kim and you sharing you and your family with this community for so many years. And Patrick, if you did not know him, he was on his way to be president. And he was a good gator. But that was a great event. Thank you again for sharing your family and for what you that was a great event. I mean, I knew you could paint some stuff. I've seen it, but the abstract stuff, it threw me. I didn't see that in you.
I didn't see that in him either.
I paint the surreal stuff after I leave these board meetings. Thank you, Deborah. Mr. Johnson, or Mr. Burke.
Mr.
sorry.
Gibbons leaving, but I was going to say, he went around with Tanja to all the campuses.
Yes.
And I think as a trustee, I think that was a above and beyond the call of duty to go check out our student services departments at each of our campus. And I think that's very admirable. Also, I forgot to mention, one of our retired faculty member got honored. Steve Meyer has been who we honored as a retiree just a few months ago, has won the award for the whole southeast of the United States as the outstanding faculty member in the nation.
Wow.
And he makes him eligible for the national award, which will be announced in Dallas. And hopefully Steve and his wife will be able to attend in Dallas to accept that regional award. So anyway, that's something I think the college should be very proud of.
Absolutely. Great. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. President.
I have just a couple things. I want to reaffirm the invitation to what will be the A ticket in Pinellas County Thursday morning. The fall welcome back, Vice President Cooper. Please extend the invitation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. President, it is my pleasure to encourage each and every one of you to come and celebrate with us. Our theme is celebrating yesterday, today, and tomorrow in regards to the wonderful heritage of faculty, as well as our existing faculty and the new faculty coming on board Thursday morning. We are very excited about this opportunity to affirm and show the value that we place on the wonderful job that our faculty do, changing lives every day because of their motivation in the classroom and working with our students. So please come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will, of course, as you see, be recognizing the faculty emeritus winners for the first time. It's just a spectacular group. It's just going to be as much fun as you can stand. So thank you for that. I have two other things, but in that framework, Mr. Burke, you had, I want to just join my comments to yours. We will be refreshing our entire focus on the student success agenda will be the subject of my commentary, okay? We've had a very good year on that, but we're at the beginning of a long trail, and we will lay out where we go next, a very enthusiastic agenda to move that forward. But I don't want to indicate anything except an overwhelmingly positive response on the part of our faculty and staff. As we try to get all the parts lined up so that there's more lift and less drag, that was what we did in the first year, and I suspect we'll see more lift in year two. So thank you for the opening there, but we're on it. We're at the early steps of a long journey, so we can do that. I wanted to, Mr. Chairman, if I could, just two other items. We have been working on a major review of the college branding and marketing in our community. We spend a lot of money on advertising, marketing. Not surprisingly, there are, you grow up one day and are we a 2-year school? Are we a 4-year school? How do we do all this? We've hired a consultant to come in, do some real analysis about how to clarify, strengthen, and put forward our message. I only give you a heads up. We've done a great deal of work. There is a round of engagement with the community, focus groups, and those kinds of things. So if you hear something over the next 30, 60 days, that's part of a very carefully constructed plan. We'll bring that plan back to the board early in the fall to say, here's where we're headed, here's what the themes should look like, here's how we're going to approach new demographics and those kinds of things. A real research-based marketing approach. Be aware that we're going to be in the community in the next couple of weeks on this one, okay? And then lastly, Mr. Burke had sent me a note yesterday. The October board meeting conflicts with, was it the 21st century meeting, Ken? And I think with enough lead time, certainly, Mr. Chairman, if the board could take under consideration moving that to the Monday prior, move it up a day, that would certainly help a great deal. And Ken?
And Dr. Law, after that, yesterday afternoon, after I sent this, they sent us an optional date. So I think
You wanna
this is
just
still
hold?
the primary date when it is going to be held, and I'm going to ask that we do move our board meeting to the Monday, October 17th.
Good.
But there's a possibility they're going to change between now and the next week, so. So can we, if we could just take that action out in September, that'd be good.
You want to wait on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
because they may change it.
Okay.
But if we can keep our calendars clear for that Monday, that'd be very helpful, folks. I would appreciate it.
Okay.
So Marcia, if we could just have that as a reminder on the agenda for next month. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. President?
No, sir, that's it.
Thank you. Item number 4, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of July 19.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Lang?
Pleased to advise that the church transaction is now completed, that the college owns that, and that the final step is reimbursement to the college for the remaining sums that are due. That's in process, and we should receive them the beginning of the week.
Any questions of Mr. Lang? Thank you, sir. Ms. Gardner?
Mr. Chair, I don't have a report this month.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to item 5C, and our provost, Dr. Nicotera.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity this morning. Keeping in vein with the idea of student success, and I guess this is, there we go. I wanted to give you a snapshot this morning of the spring quarter of the great work that we do in our Learning Support Center. We call it the New Initiative Program. And what you can see on the first bullet is the number of students during that quarter that took advantage of the services that we offer. However, I think what's key in that first bullet is that last number, the more than 3,000 visits, which really mean that those 831 students that took advantages of the services did it more than one time, did it 3, 4, and 5 times. So there was value to them. And I'm going to direct your attention to the results of what's happened there. If we look down to the last bullet under the results, a little bit more than 88% of those students that availed themselves of those services received a C or better in the course that they were working on, that they came for services for. And there's 198 students who came down and actually graduated. So I think we're seeing some great success by some hard work of the individuals that are in our support service center. The second point on this slide is one of the important things that we've been trying to do over the past 2 to 3 years is reach out to the college community to help students be better prepared as they come into the health programs. And so we reach out to the college community. As you can see there, under the bullet that says outreach, we have provided 11 anatomy and physiology workshops on the Clearwater campus, and we've had more than 600 students attend those in the spring. And we've also done the same thing down in St. Pete, at the St. Pete campus, and you can see there we have more than 1,100 students that avail themselves of that. So, our goal is to bring in students that are ready for the health programs, that understand the rigors and have an advantage when they come in also. And I'll be happy to answer any questions on.
Do you have any idea when you reach out and like have 600 and 1,169 students, in these outreach programs, are they still so new that you can't tell how many of those actually end up as students, or do you have any idea?
We can track that, yes. I don't know that off right now, but these are students that are currently enrolled in Anatomy and Physiology 1 and in Anatomy and Physiology 2, and we can look, and we log them in when they come in for the workshops, so we can look and see if they have, in fact, enrolled into any of the health programs. So we can do that. I will definitely.
Yeah, bring that back. That'd
Sure.
be interesting
Okay,
to see what
absolutely.
the results were.
Yeah, great.
Other questions of Dr. Nicotera? Thank you,
Well,
sir.
thank you. You're
Thank you very much. Dr. Vitito.
Wanted to share with you a little bit of information this morning about some of the outstanding work that the faculty do. We have faculty scientists here at the college, and three of those people, Dr. Hayward Matthews, Dr. Monica Laura, and Alice Monroe, began conducting seminars on reef monitoring in the fall of 2009. And what these seminars amounted to was engaging local volunteers and training them in how to monitor the health of local reefs. And as you can see from the photograph there, what they do is put a small plastic square on the reef, and then they log the various types of organisms that are living within that square, and then they move the square on. So they gather baseline data on the condition and health of those reefs. Well, this project took on extra importance in March of 2010, when the BP oil spill occurred. Because at that time, people began to wonder, would that oil reach this community? And if it did, how would we know if it was damaging our reefs? And how would we prove that our reefs were at a certain level before the oil and after the oil were at a lower level? So this group formed a 501c3. They received a contract and actually made 6 2-minute commercials, which were aired at different places around the country, and the purpose of those commercials was to demonstrate to people that the reefs and the beaches here in Clearwater were healthy and untouched by the oil. And I think they had a profound influence on a number of people in persuading them that this community was a place that tourists should come back to. They continue, and to this day they're still working, they're still monitoring those reefs, and they hold cleanups. The last cleanup they held in September 2010 removed more than 1,000 pounds of trash and debris from those reefs in an attempt to keep them healthy. I think it's another example of how our faculty impact this community and the effect that they have on this community, both in terms of its intellectual life, but also its economic life.
It's fantastic. I had no idea.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Great. Questions? Thank you, sir. Very nice.
Thank you.
Dr. White.
Good morning.
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 Every once in a while, gratitude fills the heart and it just naturally spills over. This is where I am today. So while I don't have a number theme for you today, one of the things I'm thankful for is that we have 67 new signs on campus and counting. When students arrive at St. Pete Gibbs, there can be no doubt where we're pointing them to go for the services that they need, especially new students. But that's not what I'm the most thankful for. I'm thankful for reconfigured student services spaces in the AD building and newly customized space for our GED partners in the Super Portable. And by the way, those GED folks are very thankful too. But that's not what I'm the most thankful for. I'm thankful for refreshed technology and a host of other campus enhancements from a well-managed budget, for emerging ongoing training plans for every employee, for tools designed to improve and deepen the college experience at every level. But that's not what I'm the most thankful for. I'm thankful for new faculty positions, new student services positions, for a well-placed interim associate provost. But here's what I am the most thankful for, that in all of these things, executive college leadership now looks to campus leadership, as well as the Provost Council, of course, and the Dean's Council, for the design of the college experience at every level. From my campus perspective, let me just give you one example. The reconfigured student services spaces in the AD building, the provost was given the opportunity to lead this effort, to bring everyone to the table, campus folks and district folks, all the way from the very beginning initial planning to the last minute decision we made, triage desk back a few feet. This is what fills my heart with gratitude, as well as the heart of the team at St. Pete Gibbs. For this empowerment, we just all want you to know that we are thankful.
Thank you.
Excellent. And Dr. White, I should tell you that my son Drew told me over the weekend that if those signs had been up earlier, he would have graduated a lot earlier. Only joking.
That's so funny.
Mr. Chair, one quick
Mr.
comment.
Givens.
Dr. White, thank you. When we went to Seminole, Dr. Williams took me on that tour. We didn't get to all the campuses. We're finishing up tomorrow, I think it is. But one of the things that I most appreciated was on the Gibbs campus. Those signs are great, but all of the campuses, Clearwater, Tarpon, and Seminole, there has been a concerted effort for student services to be opened up, and financial aid and student services are all talking to each other. And it was just phenomenal to see that even though they had space problems, you know, in terms of where they've housed people on the St. Pete Gibbs campus, Dr. White's commitment to making sure that still happens on that campus, and it's wonderful to see. And I think every trustee, if you don't have the time, you should at least stop by one of the campuses to see what they're doing. It's phenomenal.
Excellent, thank you.
Well, Karen, I'll be thankful because next Monday I start class, so I'll be able to find my way around then.
We'll make sure.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're down to agenda item 7A, student success and achievement, information only, and Susan Ryder.
This follows immediately on that conversation. We made a very significant commitment to make sure that the space on all of our campuses was as and logically positioned to support the registration and intake process. And we, Susan and her team, working with the provost, did a magnificent job. The short course is anyone who wasn't involved in student services got pulled out of that space. We still had any number of district personnel sitting in space that was adjacent to registration space. So Susan, why don't we share that? It has had a strong impact on our student experience.
We'll start at the Tarpon campus. There's our provost up there pointing to the new signs. Very successful signage project in Tarpon. One of the things that they asked us to do on the Tarpon campus was to reconfigure some of the space in the library. They were focusing on providing more independent student space for study, individual lounge areas, and also the creation of a writing studio, which is happening in that library also. They wanted a new circulation desk, so we built a new desk, provided an area for wheelchair, ADA accessible, and also much more usable for the students in that now they know exactly where to go and where to get the services. We also created some lounge and student individual study areas as you enter the library. So the space has become much more usable as we move into this semester. We started reworking the student activities area during the spring semester and then finished that up during the summer. New furniture, painting, carpeting, again, individual places for the students. This came out really nice in a very old building. Clearwater campus, again, signage everywhere, very clear focus on where you are to go to get the services that you. This is one of the areas that Dr. Law was talking about. Dr. Law asked us if we could put a aggressive plan in place and have both the Clearwater and St. Pete Gibbs student intake areas totally remodeled by July 15th, and of course we told him that we could. And of course we did. And so this is an example of the total remodeling of that area in Clearwater. Very, very successful. Business office.
We also redid the circulation desk at the main entrance, again, providing ADA place and much more functional for those folks. And we're working on a future writing studio in the library with Joe Leopold. These are the old cases. If you remember the old science building, those cases were along the wall. The academic chair, John Williams, had expressed the desire to have those redone. He actually took the lead on doing that. We just assisted in putting them up, but they're back up now, and it's a great addition to the new science building. Seminole, new signage also. 6 new modulars on this campus, and if you see them, they look like one very, very large portable. This is, these we're calling modulars. They're a little bit better condition, shape. They go together than your normal portable. We've got a faculty office module, a restroom module, and some pretty good size 40 student station classrooms there, and a physics classroom. Those will be, furniture's coming in there tomorrow. I think the faculty offices are already set up, so these will be ready to go for classes next Monday. Here, this is kind of like a maintenance and repair, but we had some leaking in the learning support area for the students, so I thought I'd. Also, Seminole, we refurbished the existing science labs in the UPC building and added an additional new prep area. So there's a total of 48 student stations for those labs. Chem resin tops on this now, and very, very nicely outfitted. Health Education Center, Dr. Nicotera talked a little bit about the NIP program this morning. This is the remodeled NIP program. This has been a request of theirs for some time, so we were able to get that completed during the summer and ready for classes this fall. Vet Tech, this is a new Vet Tech building. There's the sign. I think it goes active tomorrow, actually. It is ready, will be ready for classes. Animals were moved in starting yesterday, so we're moving forward. Hopefully we'll have one of the board meetings here with the next several months and be able to do a walk through the building. The downtown center, for the fall session, we put 2 new 47 student station classrooms that you see in the lower right-hand corner there. Furniture is going in there as we speak. And for express session, we had 2 30 student station classrooms scheduled to go online. Actually, one of those is already complete and can be used for next Monday. We have a total of 809 student stations at the downtown center, which equals approximately 27 classrooms at 30 student stations each. Some are larger, some are smaller, some are labs, but generally speaking, that's what you're looking at. And there was a classroom up on the 4th floor that we had initially built, turned into a chemistry lab and prep space, and we were able to complete that over the summer. St. Pete Gibbs campus, Dr. White spoke about signage. Here's another view of some of that signage. Very effective. And here is the reworked registration center. This was a pretty large project. We moved the GED folks out into the large portable that used to house the collegiate high school, and then we went in and totally renovated, remodeled all of this space. New offices, ceiling, lights, air conditioning, flooring, everything. Very, very successful and used by the students. We had a new food vendor on the St. Pete Gibbs campus, and one of the things we needed to do was to go in and reupholster some of the furniture, paint. They had some new signage and everything, so this really spiffied up the place, and I think it's a lot more inviting than it was in the past.
Which building is that in?
It's in the library, sort of between. You can get to it from the student services and right on the quad, facing the quad. St. B. Gibbs, we also are doing the west parking lot. We'll have the majority of it completed for the beginning of classes on Monday. We'll finish the rest of it up over the Christmas holidays. When we get through, we'll have 198 additional parking spaces. And college-wide, there was about 110 old projectors that got replaced with new projectors. This was an effort that the provost worked on, facilities worked on. We had some outside folks helping us. Everybody pitched in and got those projectors replaced for the opening of classes on Monday.
You've been very busy.
Yeah.
Yes, questions? It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Connolly?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, Board of Trustees, and colleagues, thank you for this opportunity. We're going to talk about, for informational purposes, Learn to Earn. Learn to Earn started May 2nd, and at that time, we started with 10 programs in 10 weeks or less. I'm happy to tell you today we now have 20 certificates, and you can see the following areas that are listed with administrative tools and career readiness. Career readiness is getting it's a pretty hot topic for us, and one of the things that we need to do better, and we're starting to implement next week, is having our hours from 7 o'clock a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. over here at EPI. Right now they're kind of limited, so we really need to extend those to accommodate more students. And it's really, really popular. Then once they take the readiness, they can find out what areas of technology that they might be interested in, or public safety and the health programs. Since May 2nd, we've had 598 participants. Many of those are starting to find work now, and if you drove in this morning on the right-hand side, you saw a big semi-truck parked there. That's a program called MOST, and it's actually part of the Manufacturing Extension Program. We got them to come in, and they actually rent some space for us, but they have 19 students in there today, so our number's far over, or it's over 600 now. But those 19 people will all be guaranteed the possibility of employment, which is pretty unique in the manufacturing area. And then they're monitored for a full year after that, being compensated while they're doing this work. The cost of the program to us is nothing. The cost of the program to the student is nothing, and it's valued at about $6,900 value over this time. So that was a major win for us as well, and to help find 53,000 unemployed in Pinellas County work. You can't do it all at once, but you get 19 here and then 19 there. It's working out. I've already mentioned the career assessments and what we need to do to improve that. We're doing that. Our partners, and I've had a lot of help from a lot of people, starting with Dr. Law and Dr. Vitito and the funding part of it. And I saw Watson back there. I shouldn't even start mentioning names because we've had a lot of partners in this whole deal. We go to the St. Petersburg Times Job Fair, working at Pinellas, Largo Mid-County Chamber. We're already hooked up with the St. Petersburg Chamber, and Mr. Brett is working that out so we can speak with their economic development team. We've done that in Clearwater. One of the things that we found out, and this is a good story here and a success story, is with our partner, the Boley Center. Downtown, we had a young man that got on a bus to come up here to take a course. He got up here, it took him 3 hours. I was telling Mr. Gibbons about this before. He gets here at 3 o'clock, class is over, and now what do? Well, one of my staff people took him to lunch, and then we took him home because we didn't want to see him another 3 hours on the bus and get nothing out of it, right? So we did that for the student. Actually, she did, and that was a great effort on her part. We went to the Boley Center. We took our show on the road. So now we go to the Boley Center on Thursday mornings and do the training for these students. The grant is called Pathways Out of Poverty. But these students now are getting training and getting certificates. And it's kind of hard to track the success because they have a person down there that's helping them get work. As soon as they get work, and that's what they want to do, then they stop taking the classes. The good side is they've taken enough of the classes that it's helped them get the work, but now they're not always completing everything. So, hey, it's getting them what they want and it's helping them, but because we took it to them versus made all the difference in the world. I appreciate my staff for bringing that up and mentioning that. We also work with Ready for Life, and this fall we're going to go to Youth Build. That's a group downtown that is in the same way helping students find work that wouldn't have success otherwise in a full academic setting. I mentioned the buses outside with manufacturing. That's phase one. Their idea is after we get these 19 individuals trained up, and they have 85% success rate in placement and keeping those jobs after a year. But then there's additional opportunity on the campus, and some of the things that Dr. Vitito and Brad Jenkins have been discussing to bring that full circle so that those students can not only get employment now and make money, but then they can grow in that employment through professional development. The last thing I wanted to show you is our quick response code, or QR code. You see these things pop up everywhere, and if you have a cell phone with the scanner, they're shooting. It takes you right to the Learn website. The marketing behind it's been phenomenal. I'm getting a lot of help out of our marketing team. So yeah, you can shoot that. No, I see it. Something's moving around on there. There you have it. Wow. Did you do that, Dr. Lowe? Oh, Steve did. I wondered how that happened. Well, good. That's a bonus. And then we have a promo code on all of our marketing material too. And what I learned from Dr. Oliver many years ago is shameless self-promotion. And so that was supposed to be funny, Dr. Oliver. And Dr. Vitito just reiterates it every time I see him. So I have brochures. If any of you would like those, I'd be happy to give those to you. I know Deveron takes them to churches and passes them out, and you all have been very helpful. I thank you for all that. So thank you.
Mr. Connolly, just a couple of questions, please. First of all, you were talking about the limited hours that are currently in place here at EPI. What's preventing you from extending the hours?
But it's not now. We'll start
They are extended.
from 7 to 7.
All right. And you have 598 participants. Are these people who have received certificates?
Yes. When you come in, the way the training is split out, they're in 3-hour segments. If you take all the segments for Microsoft Word, then you can then qualify to take the Microsoft test.
So these are folks who have finished with the program?
Some phases of that, yes. As I said, some of them come in, and we're starting to get our research together now on the surveys, the student surveys of instruction. The students are coming in, and a lot of them are incumbent workers. And I think they're taking the training so that they can get better skilled in where they're at and hopefully stay there. So of all the people coming through the program, I don't have a percentage on what number is working when they get here, but a vast majority are incumbent workers that are looking for keep their skills up. And because it's inexpensive, and Dr. Law made that affordable, and Dr. Vitito leaned on me and says, "You're charging too much." We got the prices down to $25 for 3 hours of training, which is a pretty good deal. And the training is state of the art. We have all the best technology down there, and our technicians and everything that work with it, and our instructors are top notch. So,
well, and I know you were at the workforce symposium that we had here at the Collaborative Labs with Pinellas County Schools and the Pinellas County Commission. This was a big topic. There was a lot of discussion about it. Quick turnaround, and it's great. It sounds like it's great success. Questions? Mr. Burke?
You mentioned in passing WorkNet's partnership. Is that one of their strongest partnerships? What are they providing? What are they not providing?
we need to strengthen that a little bit better. They are passing out, we send a PDF to them of our Learn to Earn brochure, and ask them to send those out to the unemployed through WorkNet. I take up a couple hundred brochures every month and pass them out, and they distribute them to the one-stop centers. But I'm not seeing a whole lot of the vouchers coming back to us for the training. There's two things behind that. One is Microsoft went out and passed out vouchers through the WorkNet boards and just gave away training, of which they offered. That has since ended. So hopefully that'll pick up and we can get stronger with them again.
how about with WorkNet, once our folks earn these certificates, fixing them into a job?
That's the hope.
Was that, I mean, is there an active pipeline there, though?
Yes, there is. They go up to the office, and it's because it's all located right here, and they have to fill out a lot of the paperwork, or they could go to the one-stop centers and fill out the necessary information, and then it's their intent to match them with the certificates they earn. That's why we started with the career assessment to say, okay, this is what you would like to do. Now here's what we're going to train you to do. Now go to WorkNet. The way we came up with these jobs too was twofold. One was by working with Workforce Florida, Inc., and saying, okay, these are the top jobs that people are being employed in. So I made a matrix and took those jobs. Then we went with Region 14, which is Pinellas County, and created a matrix. Then we said, what do we have in place that can help those individuals? So when you take all three, and that's how we came up with the programs that we're offering. So the ones that we're offering, there are opportunities available. There are actually 2,693 opportunities in Pinellas County in the areas that we targeted to train in.
Dr. Law, I'm going to ask you on behalf of the board to do two things, if it's fine with the board. I would ask you to, if we can just maybe change his presentation around just a little bit, so it's, because he, and send it to Roger Roscoe and to the governor's office
happy
to show how this college is being tremendously responsive in the jobs emphasis area on all ends. And here is a perfect example with, triage type of training to get people trained in a very short time for jobs, and how we're working with these associations and partnerships to get people job ready and into the jobs that are needed. I was very impressed with the guaranteed jobs that he mentioned. And I think that would, if we can get that,
We'll do that.
I think it shows the governor our responsiveness, but also comes to an issue which is very important to us, and that's governance. The same philosophy we apply here, we're applying to our bachelor workforce degrees, and shows we don't need some coordinating board up in Tallahassee to wait 2 years for us to do something.
3 months, we did this in 3 months.
This is a perfect example of the types of responsiveness we have, not only on these types of things, but when they need other types of degrees that are maybe take more time to accomplish. So I think it will speak very highly. So if you can do that communication on behalf of our board.
Happy to do that.
I think that'd be really good.
Happy to do
Thank you,
that.
Ken.
Yeah, this could be a model for the state.
Well, I think it's, I'm quite pleased. Let me just say, we started to pick 10 that'll get us started. Let's get started and then fix it. Now we're up to 20. Now we have a delivery model, though. We can expand. I didn't want to get into long-term certificates because people have needs. So we picked the ones that we could do quickest, fastest, through to market response. Now, though, we can start adding. In fact, we started talking about some in early childhood and other areas. And I'm much more open to then saying, well, if the certificates take a little longer to get, that's okay. But we didn't start by saying pick the longest lasting certificates. We picked the shortest to market. So there's that part. The other part that I want to, we'll keep working it, but we made a conscious decision up front that we were going to do what we do. There are structures in place for the job placement, WorkNet and others. That's their mission. We'll add to that, but I did not say, and we were only going to do the ones where we could assure job. We wanted to be sure people had skills, hope that the right things would work out. I'm going to share with you, I had just the nicest response from a person who had been out of work for 2.5 years in law enforcement, came and took the personal security, got hired the day after he received the certificate. So, it does work. We've done a nice job. This is, again, man, if someone told me we could be here after 3 months of operation, I'd have signed on any day. So as we ramp this up, Mr. Burke, we'll be sure to share it.
Thank you for your leadership on this, Dr. Law.
This is good
Appreciate
fun.
it.
This is good stuff.
Mr. Johnston.
I just want to compliment the administration, Dr. Law, Dr. Vietos, Dr. Connolly, because our corporate training for many years was kind of a tag-along, money-losing operation. And when I look at it today, and I think, Dr. Connolly, I think you can positively say that our corporate training now is turning a revenue over expenditures.
Yes, it is.
And to do that plus reaching out into the community and solving community needs, which really means that we're the community's college. And I have to compliment you and all those who are involved in it with all this outreach, because these are the people that really need the education. And I would guess, what's the makeup of the, Dr. Conley, of the learn to earn? Are most of those unemployed, or are most of those employed and just trying to upgrade their skills, or is it some kind of a mix?
It's a mix. It really is. We had an Adobe 5 students in there the other day, and I started chatting with them to see what's going on, and 3 of them own their own company. So they were taking Photoshop so that they could learn how to get the photos, tweak them, and then put them on their website. And so then we got to tell them about InDesign and some other products. So like I say, they're working, they have a business, they're trying to get their skills up so that they can go and, enhance those. One of those people were not working, was looking for work, and the other one just said, it's fun. So it was $25 to take a Photoshop class. That's a good price.
Yeah, that surprises me that we can deliver that kind of a product for that price and still come out ahead of the game financially.
Mr. Gibbons.
Dr. Conley, thank you. This is a great program, a great report. To the board, this is exactly the reason we need to have a Midtown campus. I think if we look at the trends that WorkNet or the numbers that WorkNet show on a consistent basis, you'll see that the folks that are most out of work are in the Midtown area, Tarpon area, and those areas that are highly concentrated with unskilled, untrained folks throughout the county. And I think St. Petersburg and Tarpon are probably the top 2 places, if I remember correctly from Mr. Peachy's report. I'm sure Dr. Law could tell you because he's on that board now. So I would encourage us to stay on track in terms of trying to get the Midtown facility so that folks can walk to these trainings and programs.
Darren, are you implying, and I hope you're implying, that this program now is generally located right here at Epicenter?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any reason why that can't be moved to, or part of it, to areas of greater need like Midtown?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I met with Dr. Shirley Hildegard 2 weeks ago, and we're going to start doing some classes down there in August.
Yeah.
Remember?
We're not saying move, are we?
No. I'm not saying move. I'm just saying, for example,
offer
when he
classes.
offers different
Yeah, we take the
courses.
show on the road, like we do at the Bowley Center.
For example, he talked about the Bowley Center. I mean,
Yes.
that's somewhere folks can walk and not.
Yep.
And Dr. Conley and I had this conversation. Calvin Harris, who's a former county commissioner, and I rode the bus from South St. Petersburg to Carillon one day, and it took us 6 hours. So that's why we were having that conversation. There are some programs that we're going to need to put places where people can get to them. And I'm not just talking about Midtown, but even in Tarpon and other places, it takes just as long.
And some of the churches are willing to help.
Yeah,
us
and some
too,
of the churches
so.
are willing to help. So this
Very
board has
good.
made that effort to move forward to have a Midtown site, but I will tell you, we probably need to do the same in Tarpon, on our Tarpon campus, and Clearwater and other places. So keep that in mind. This, again, Ken stole my thunder, but this is something that the governor needs to know about. His theme is let's get to work. This is something that is putting people back in the workforce. And the only other thing that I would ask is, and just look at it, is we need to know the statistics of where people are out of work, where are they living, where are the most people out of work. That way we can respond to it a little bit better. And then finally, where our next students are coming from. We talk about I want to say this right, the private institutions or the paid institutions, whatever you want to call them, the folks that we're in direct competition with. These young people and other folks are going there because it seems to be easier, and they tell them that they're going to come and they're going to get all this education, and then when they get done, they're way further in debt. Haven't gotten as quality of an education as they would at St. Pete College. So My only comment going forward is to Dr. Law and to Dr. Connolly, maybe we look at those programs that are partnering with WorkNet that take these young people. For example, one of them recently was BizTech, and they're training young people on like in the medical industry. And what they're finding is that there are all kind of impediments of why these young people haven't come and gone to college, but they're finishing the program, going into the medical field, which is booming right now. I mean, if you look on the internet, every job just about is dealing with the medical industry. Maybe we figure out how to partner with WorkNet and some of these programs like BizTech. They're not gonna have accreditation programs. They're not gonna have these certificate programs. What they're doing is preparing them to go into the workforce right away for a need to be met. Well, maybe that next phase for that young person is figuring out how to come to St. Pete College or being in this program where they actually have a certificate. So that may be the next stepping or building block for this program going forward, because they're already entering back into the workforce because they know they have some skill or trade now that they can utilize in the medical facility or in the office, whether it's medical billing, filing, whatever. But the next phase may be they need to get a certificate to know how to be proficient on the computer. And, it may move them from being the filer to the office manager, which is a big deal. So I would ask that you all think about that going forward.
We're on it. We're on it. Thank you for your support. Mr. Burke.
Other questions? Mr. Burke?
Just, Devron, I don't know anything about BizTech. What is that a for-profit institute? And you mentioned like medical billing. How much would they charge? Do any have any idea on any of that stuff for stuff?
My understanding is that it's free, and they partner with WorkNet, and they utilize all of the federal funding that comes to WorkNet and the state funding that comes to WorkNet. They partner with them. They have to take on a certain kind of student who is not in the workforce. They have to meet the requirements. But what I've watched, I went and visited this place because the CEO asked me to come and look at it. What I watched was that there are young people in there who are bright enough to go to college, but they're just trying to enter the workforce. Most of them between 19 and 25, from what I could tell best.
But the student doesn't pay anything or get any
The student doesn't seem to have to pay anything. It's a WorkNet program.
That's interesting.
If you're from this county. Now, if you don't meet the requirements of that federal funding or that state funding, of course you'd have to pay. But it seems like there are a lot of young people that are going that route, and I think this would be the next phase for them, seeing that they could actually complete a certificate program and then maybe trying to figure out how to get into college.
So they may not be competition with us, we just build on to them?
Yeah, I don't think they'd be competition, but what I do hear from the folks over there is that instead of coming to St. Petersburg College, they'll go to Springfield, because they believe it's easier, and because Springfield and all these other schools are coming to recruit them, saying, "Oh, well, you finished this, you can actually do this," and it's they're making it a lot easier for them. Which I don't believe they're making it easier. I just think they know about the program, they're coming there to get them. So, and they know that they're thirsty to move forward in their lives and in the workforce. So,
yeah, I've talked to a number of students who would scare me because they don't seem to realize, they know they can take out debt to go to college, but they don't realize the consequence of it, that they're going to have to pay it back. And so they readily just say, I'll just go get a student loan. And they don't anticipate that when they graduate, they get these thousands and thousands of dollars of debt.
Right.
And they can work here, get a part-time job, and generally get through college without accumulating a lot of debt.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Connolly. Okay, I'd like to...
Terry?
Yes.
While we're still on the student success item,
Yes.
I have a question for Dr. Law. Can you tell us how our enrollment looks on the community college side, our two-year program side, and program side for this upcoming semester?
As of this morning, 3.9% increase on the community college side, 13.9% on the baccalaureate side.
On the baccalaureate side, which programs in particular have that increase, or is it across the board fairly even?
I made a
Is
quick
K here?
perusal at I did the accounting thing. I started at the lower right and started reading up. And when I got to the number, I stopped. I don't know who else. We'll call it up. We'll take a look. We'll pull the morning report while you're talking. But I just didn't look at the details,
Okay.
Mr. Burke. Now, everybody hold you, today is paid, is today the day fees are due?
Today's drop day?
Yeah, I'm glad you're asking this morning, because it'll be down a bunch. And then they all come back, let's understand what happens. But, gosh, my team has done a spectacular job reaching out to students, reminding them it's time to pay, it's time to pay, it's time to pay. Like, one more time, can we help you? We have a payment plan, we have everything else. I'm sure we will cancel a few thousand students tonight for non-payment.
And how about the orientation thing? How's that going?
I visited each of the campuses in the last 2 weeks, and I think the answer to your question is it's going well. Part of our lag for the associate degree is that many more students have to go through that face-to-face orientation before they can register. So we think there's a little bit of a lag getting them into the registration system. The campuses are learning a lot with how to put together that. It's going fine, but I think it is causing a little bit of chilling just getting students into the registration system.
And Mr. Brad, I hope maybe either at our next meeting, or if it can't be done then, we have again another full report on our student success program, because I think we've gone a year now with some of these items that we have that we think are good things, and want to make sure that they're translating into success for our students. I'm especially interested in the early detection of value or success for the students, so that we're not waiting to an end of semester to find out if they have not been successful in the course. We're finding out right away. Dr. Law told us something, and I was surprised by it, and your buddy from the University of Texas who's into data, Kay McClanahan. Yeah, Kay McClanahan. It's proven fact. The people who register late don't succeed at college. I mean, it's a direct correlation to late registration.
Really?
And we always get tough, and then they say colleges always ease up because of sob stories, but those students don't succeed. It's amazing the factual evidence of that.
That's interesting.
That the students who register the last 2 weeks are the ones who don't have success in college. But there's a lot of indicators like that out there, and I know we're trying to identify them as best we can through this cohort concept,
Yes.
through early detection, through faculty engagement more. I'm not even sure what our program is with adjunct folks on their commitment to the student success agenda that we have. And so if in September, October,
That'd be a
we can
great
get
time
like
to.
a more global report on how we're doing and all these items, initiatives that we started, I think it'd be very beneficial for the
Happy to
board.
do it. It'll take a little to put together. We've got a lot of forward things, and I'm not sure that the whole is yet greater than the sum of the parts, but we got a lot of really good parts. This face-to-face orientation is fundamental to the success of students. It is hard work, getting students there early, getting there, in mid-July. A lot of, I've raised sons, they weren't quite ready to go to an orientation for a few hours at that point. I've been following it closely. Provosts have put a great deal of positive energy into this, and our new associate provost cadre have done the same. We're going to be a lot smarter about face-to-face orientation in another week or so than when we started, but
And I hope
all
as-
good stuff.
I hope as part of that program, to where where things didn't work out quite, because we would like to know that too.
Yeah,
I mean,
so, very good. Thank you for your interest on that. Really
Ken,
important.
don't you think that the students who enroll early are the ones that are more committed to college life?
that's a question for him.
I think that's the affective domain. Do they get the schedule they want? Do they get here's a big surprise. The preferred teachers, their courses fill up first, the time of day schedule. So you come at the last minute, now you've got a schedule that really doesn't meet your work schedule. So guess what happens? You give it a try and then you drop out because you can't do all that. I mean, this whole business of having a student individualized learning plan tied to a guaranteed schedule so everybody can plan their future and we can interact is our next step. Watch it unfold.
I'm sorry, is it okay? Are we surveying the students to see if we're actually meeting their needs, Dr. Law, in some way, shape, or form?
Dr. Williams, are we getting feedback from the students during the
Each fall, we complete the enrolled student survey, and they survey every area of the student services offered to them, whether they find it valuable or if they are satisfied with the service, and if we offer it at a level that they're looking for. And we take that back. The provost get a chance to go through it, the associate provost, and those specialized departments in areas like financial aid, business services, the testing centers, tutoring, et cetera.
Sense is being...
Yes.
Can I take one more second here?
Please.
There's a big piece, and board members need to be aware of. Through the good offices and all of the many things we're doing, Mr. Burke, there is a national tool called Sense. It's a survey of entering students.
That's correct.
It comes out of the University of Texas, so it's an offshoot of the Community College Survey of Student Engagement. It asks exactly the kind of questions. It's in on your intake experience and how that works. It takes a lot of courage for an institution to do this, because, to be perfectly honest, you hear a lot of things that you wish you weren't hearing. If you're going to fix it, though, you got to hear it, and you got to own the problem. And Dr. Williams and her team will be giving that. It's highly structured implementation. We do that right after classes start, I think.
Right after classes start.
And we'll bring you the results. And there's some focus group parts. So this is the most serious work we can do in this regard. I'm already providing cover, because I know what it's going to, we'll find the students who say, I hope somebody knows what's going on there, because I sure don't, that kind of thing. Mr. Burke.
And I think part of this, and I usually don't like making sports analogies, but Mr. Gibbons played football for the wrong school, and coaches will always tell you the players don't realize their potential. And so we can't be guided by what they think they can do. We have to be guided by what we know they can achieve.
Right.
And that's a lot with this process, too. Although student surveys tell us something, that's not the definitive thing, because they'll say, I don't need orientation.
Yeah.
So if it's optional, they won't come. But we know there's scientific evidence, and that's one thing your friend Kay keeps emphasizing. These are not anecdotal stories. These are scientifically researched items by people who are into this as professional researchers, have determined orientation, mandatory orientation, helps students succeed. So we can't let that be an option to students.
Exactly.
And there's so many other things that we can, and I certainly don't know this. I'm an amateur at this. I'm just, listening and trying to learn. But a lot of these items that about the first week of college and how students may say, I don't need that, but we know that through this research that they need certain things that themselves, and that's the challenge here, because a survey may show this was not as beneficial, but the fact that they're going to graduate 2 years later, we know it's beneficial rather than failing. And so that's the part with this, and I know you're an expert at this, Dr. Law, but this research which is out there, and it's fascinating. I mean, we had a math professor from University of Texas, and I wrote him yesterday to ask him for his research. Yuri something.
He's spectacular.
He is spectacular, and he talked about how these college placement tests are worthless. That they're not indicators of success. And I was shocked to hear it. He said there's students which have gotten perfect scores on the college placement and fail at the course. That was my question, why? And I wrote him yesterday to ask him for his research or where he could direct us to that, because, rather than these anecdotal stories, these are people who've are spending their careers determining this, and it's foolish if we don't listen to them. I see you're smiling.
We need to get him here. His story is the most astounding story. But thank you for the support, because, it's like so many things in life. We kind of know the right thing to do, but you got to make yourself do it, too. I mean, I know all the things about nutrition. I just don't do it. I snack it. But the same thing with students. We know some practices that work. You have to have an organizational discipline and commitment to say, let's cause this to happen.
And some of them are tough.
And they are difficult. They are very difficult. We have a much better this is the shift between the earth shift for us, which was we prided ourselves on access, come on in, and we have to make the shift that says, but success is the most important thing. And we've spent, and with no apologies, making access easy. You want to come? Come. You don't even have to come to orientation. Just come. Show up the first day. Sign up for classes. Online education. No, but meanwhile, nobody succeeds, and then you have things. We're doing really good work. We're just getting started. We're pretty introspective. We certainly have the capacity to monitor and to see what works. Thursday, that will be my dialogue with the faculty is okay, now we kind of know the edges. Let's get really engaged. I'm going to put some challenges out there for us, and I'd like you to be there to hear it. It's inappropriate for me to start it here. I really need, that's a faculty president dialogue that I want to get started, but I hope you'll be there to be part of it.
I promise I'll be quick. Dr. Hall, that's one of the things that I want to talk about is, I worked at Holland and Knight for years, and that's a big organization like the college. Institutional change is tough. I think we're finally getting to the top of that hill, and we're about to be going down the hill at a fast pace. So the college should be commended on that. The faculty, the staff, and all the people that work, administration, all the people that work with you should be commended on that, because I think I hear much more positive stories than I used to hear. The other thing about the experience in terms of the survey, the reason I asked that question is, people believe that, when I went to the University of Florida, we had a mandatory orientation. That was number one. Number two, my parents went with me, and the gentleman in the front of the room said, these are adults now, see ya. He kicked every parent out. But that doesn't happen here at St. Pete College, and I'm not advocating for that to happen. What I'm saying is a lot of these surveys, what I tell the parents now is fill out the survey. If there's a survey to fill out there, give us the feedback, because they're going on that first day with their kid. They're going there to make sure they're sitting there in financial aid. They're sitting there with the young person, that first-time person that's coming to college. They're sitting there talking to whoever about how you schedule classes. So that's why I asked the question about the survey, because I want to make sure that the experience, when we as board members get that feedback, we say, look, there are surveys here. We need to get that feedback so that we can fix it. We can't fix it or meet us on the street. It's too hard to get all the information. We need to compile it and be able to really respond to what the students' needs are. And I like that stuff you were talking about with the Uri guy. I hope that you will share that with the board. I think that's important. So.
Okay, thank you. Great comments. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve items 7B, C, D, E, F, and G1.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those items?
I have a couple questions in regards to them. On C1, I assume we're leasing because it's cheaper than buying. And are we leasing software on this?
This is not the software licensing agreement, is it? This is the Microsoft agreement, it's C1, yes, that's what
We're
right.
leasing software, correct?
Well, I don't think we use the term leasing with it, but these are it's a bundle. It's a license, and we've bundled all of our Microsoft products for use. So
underneath that one bundle, so that everybody in the college can have access to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is it any cheaper to buy it?
No.
No. It would be more expensive if we went out and got individual licenses. So the bundling is a better deal.
You couldn't buy a bundle. You have to lease a bundle.
It's essentially we're licensing the software.
Yes.
Okay. And I had a question on number C2. And I think this is probably a carryover. Maybe there it is.
The police standards thing? The point is that Mr. Brock is a campus executive officer, and I think in the draft behind that, it refers to
the term provost to make decisions. And obviously, that's a carryover from when you had a provost. Probably it's on item 13 of the draft. And we really don't have a classification of a draft as a provost at Allstate. I think that's a technical thing that needs to be corrected.
Okay. I'll take that as a Scrivener's error.
Yes, I think it's just a carryover when you had, because this is just a renewal of an old agreement, and it's probably just a carryover of something.
Anything else, Mr. Johnson?
No, go ahead.
Any other discussion? Mr. Burke?
On C3, the Dell Financial Services Equipment Lease, it refers to a master lease, which was previously, we're adjusting to. Was that master lease something that was a no bid because of state contract, or did we bid that master lease out?
It's a state contract, yes.
Good. The other question is really just a request on item E1, the Green Home Project. Since it's a grant, usually we have an accompanying sheet which tells us how much the commitment of the college. If we can just post the board meeting, Dr. Law, if we can just get that sent to our Friday packet.
Okay, we'll do
that
that.
sheet, so we know what our commitment
Good,
is.
thanks.
And I'm fine with your explanation you gave me yesterday.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item G2, Dr. Law?
Health insurance. We have Patty Jones will be making a presentation. No decisions to be made today, but because health insurance is an important item, we wanted to spend some time giving you an update as to where we are, what's going to happen next, and what we'll be voting on over the next couple of months.
So we're not looking for an approval or a vote
No
today on
approvals
this?
today,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
That's why it's just presentation information only.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm waiting for the presentation to come up here.
Okay.
Mr. President, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I want to go over some of the proposals. I want to make it clear these are all under consideration. There's been extensive discussions about this. We have a college insurance committee that has been weighing in on these as well. To go forward, I want to talk a little bit about where we are. As you know, we are self-insured and have been for several years, which has given us a tremendous amount of stability and flexibility that we're able to offer our employees. Our college-provided benefits include medical and dental coverage. We have voluntary benefits we offer our employees that include vision and disability and cancer. We have a medical expense reimbursement plan that has proved very popular to our employees over the years. But over time, all of this has continued to cost the college. As you can see, since 2007, the average amount that our claims has grown is 14% a year. So in the last plan year, we were about $13.5 million in claims paid out on behalf of our employees. This has had an impact. This has affected our reserves. We have gone from a peak of $7.2 million to most recently about $5.6 million. So what do? We have to do something. So fortunately, we have the Brown, and we have them here with us this morning as well, to work with us and decide how do we cut costs, how do we improve services, and besides that, what changes do we really need to effect? Well, some of the basic things, they did a lot of work on our behalf. They went out, they marketed, they got bids from other companies, and in the end they came back and they said, keep Aetna. Your employees are happy, and Aetna is also offering us a savings in what we pay them to administer our plan, offering a 3-year rate guarantee, and offering to increase the wellness fund from $50,000 to $100,000 for activities for our employees. Symetra has been our stop-loss carrier. Brown & Brown was able to negotiate our rates down from, they proposed a 13% increase for us. It's now at 1.6% premium increase. Aetna, keep with Aetna for our life insurance. However, one of the changes that we are looking at is changing the face value of what we give our employees. Right now it's equal to their base pay, and we are looking at offering them the face value to double their base pay for what is college provided. Advantica is our vision insurance. Again, employees very pleased, and they are coming back with a 4-year rate guarantee and a savings. Because this is voluntary, this is a direct pass-through savings to the employee if they have this plan. The only change that is being recommended at this time is to switch our long-term and short-term disability carrier. We've been with Assurant for a long time, had a fairly archaic model for our employees. This is a better model, and it offers them, on average, about a 40% drop in what they would be paying for their disability. Again, a rate guarantee and no pre-existing condition exclusion, which Assurant was unwilling to give us. Yes, sir.
What is the employee share of disability insurance? Do they pay 100% on that? I don't know.
Yes, it's entirely voluntary. Okay. We did not contribute to that. Yes, sir.
Is that something then we would run like by through the faculty senate and that type of thing for them to buy really?
We have an insurance committee that's made up of all groups, and these recommendations have been vetted.
Okay.
And then Brown & Brown put pencil to it, and we'll go back to them with this specifics, but yeah, all, and the new Career Employees Council as well.
And there are faculty on the insurance committee as well.
Question in regards
Yes.
to, I imagine a lot of our employees have spouses that have coverage.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect the college if they choose to go on to their spouse's program, health program versus ours, or vice versa?
It saves us the claims cost. We still fund enough money for the position for insurance for each position, but it saves us in the claims. Because the claim, I believe what you're saying is their claim is now against their spouse's insurance.
Right.
And that is the huge cost. The cost, our admin fees are minuscule compared to the cost of the claims to the college.
But we don't pass through the employee doesn't say, well, give me the difference. I'm on my spouse's insurance, so pay me what you would have paid for insurance. We don't do that. No, thank you, but we don't.
Anything else on this slide?
All right, those are kind of housekeeping, and I think we're going to separate this into several parts. I think most of this is inside baseball. This is what you would expect the administrative team to do. Brown & Brown has been enormously helpful in renegotiating and fine-tuning the costs, so that's no change. That's just to renew contracts and to move forward. I think it was mostly good news in all of that. If someone told me I could keep my cost to 1.6%, that sounds like good news to me. So we're going to move to the next part, which has to do with what touches the employees. Okay, this is the behind the scenes, the part of the, how we manage the program. Patty, if we'll, Mr. Chairman, can we move to that part?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then there'll be a third part.
I think the answer to this question is no, it's not enough. Hence, we're looking at some significant changes for our employees. Among the recommendations, moving our plan year, we are currently on an October 1 plan year, moving it back to a January through December plan year, keeping the current medical plan options. In other words, keeping the current Aetna Select, which is like an HMO, the Point of Service 2, which is like a PPO. We are not espousing moving away from those for our employees. Creating a self-funding group for Medicare eligible employees. For those who are at least 65 years old, this will be a big savings for them if they want to stay on our college insurance, because Medicare is primary, but they can still retain our insurance at a much reduced cost than they are currently paying. Keep the flexible spending account option, offer domestic partner benefits, explore adding an employee plus child tier. Right now it's employee plus one. We are exploring the possibility of making it two options, employee plus spouse and employee plus child. There is a claims differential in those different types of tiers. Adjusting some co-pays. These adjustments are actually not as aggressive as have been discussed based on the high usage of ER facilities for non-ER reasons. But the recommendation for the coming year is to increase both ER and outpatient surgery by $50, and the walk-in and urgent care clinic, reduce it to be the same as your primary care visit, because those can give a lot of the same benefit to the employee at a much reduced cost in claims to the college. In addition to that, we would keep our current option for employees, but look at another high deductible, low premium option. So that means what it sounds like, offers participants much lower monthly premiums. It involves employees paying the deductible and a co-insurance. So you have a combination deductible going on and co-insurance like the old days when it was 80-20. But it gives employees a means to pay for that through a health savings account or HSA. So what is an HSA? Basically, it's a savings account that you can pull from to pay for your medical, dental, and prescription benefits. And the employee uses that to pay the true cost of their care. Even with the deductible and the co-insurance, there's still an out-of-pocket max. So it's not unlimited what the exposure is for the employee. And that's at $3,000 for the individual coverage and $6,000 for a family. Again, that is money that they can pay for from their health savings account.
So this health savings account would be something entirely new
Yes, sir.
to the employees.
Mm-hmm.
And voluntary, I might add.
Right.
Voluntary, and we're looking at this as a pilot. We want people to really be willing to step up and participate in this on a pilot level for the first
Why
year.
don't we have this already, the health savings account? What was the logic for not doing this?
This is the trend that everybody is catching on to throughout the country. A lot of it's through healthcare reform, and healthcare reform is driving us and many other employers to this.
I'm just surprised we don't have this already.
It is, Mr. Burke, let's take a second, because this is really important. I think most of us think downstream healthcare is going to look more like this than anything that we currently have, where the employee has some ownership in the choices to spend money. So that's where the savings start coming. It's your money, you start making better choices. That's the theory. Mr. Burke, here, I'm for it. Communicating it and making sure every individual knows how it works and what they're getting, how it's very hard to communicate. And we called on, we're very lucky to have Senator Jones as part of our team, and he gave great insight into how difficult these things are from some of his legislative testimony for people to understand how they work. So that's why we're going voluntary.
Savings account?
Yeah, well, what will you, don't forget, I have a CPA in the family as well, so we know how to do this. It's not easy to figure out, am I going to be ahead, am I going to be behind, does it make more sense? I'm in my 60s. What's the benefit for me? I have sons in their 30s who think this is the greatest thing in the world. This is because they're never going to get sick and they're never going to have a claim, okay? I'm starting to think I'm on borrowed time for claims. So let's just go through, but we want to go slow to go fast here. The goal is to not have to back up. So let me see if we can't show how we're approaching this and where we would go with this.
So they would be able to fund this by taking the savings from the lower premiums and putting them in the health savings account. Here is one view of how the employees would change. Again, this is all still being discussed. So you look to the right and you see the potential savings if they were to decide to, on their paycheck, change nothing, but the deduction goes somewhere else and it goes to their health savings account. And you can see that it can significantly add up for those employees.
It's all pre-tax dollars.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
That's the big thing.
Mhm.
You can stay there if you don't.
Right.
If you don't use it, it's like an IRA.
Yep.
Under IRS guidelines, there is a cap to what can go into those accounts. And if you notice, $6,250 for the was on the other slide, and $4,400 is what the annual savings that the employee could put in. So already there's an opportunity to add to that if they would like. And I'll get into a minute. The college could help fund it. See that second bullet? The college could help seed the health savings account for the employees as another incentive to try to move them to that model.
Are employees entitled to a health savings account if their spouse has a plan?
If they're benefit eligible on their own, independent of their spouse, absolutely. Mm-hmm. We do not require employees to go to their spouse's coverage if that's available. Any other questions on this slide? This is an example of a hypothetical $15,000 claim and how it would affect the employee under the current Aetna Select, which is like the HMO, and the HSA. So as you can see, there is an increased exposure for the employee on the right. Again, that's why it's so important in this model to have that funded health savings account. Other HSA features, they are portable. Currently, things like an FSA are not. Use it or lose it. You leave the college, your account goes with you. It is your personal account. The funds carry over from year to year. What you don't spend, you save and it accrues. And once in the life of that health savings account, you can roll it over into an annuity. Yes, sir.
Another question, because I'm trying to think through all this. Generally, when you see your health bill, it says so much was provided by, in my case, Medicare, so much was provided by the health care, and that's all they pay. Even though the hospital bill may be astronomical, somehow it gets settled out and never gets paid. If you have an HSA plan and you've got a $40,000 hospital bill and you have an HSA, will the hospital demand full payment? Because apparently under a lot of plans now, they accept whatever the plan pays.
They're still under our plan. And so what happens is you have 1,000, but let's just pretend it was a $15,000 bill. You still have a limited exposure for the employee. So what happens after they reach their deductible, which for employee only will be $1,500, then it goes into a co-insurance situation where the employee is on the hook for 20% of what's remaining. So, and what is left will continue to be paid for us. We are self-insured, and we pay those claims for our employees.
So there's a maximum that you are exposed for in those kinds of things.
For our employees.
The other part is, those costs are the same whether you're on the HSA or whether you're in the existing plan. That is,
Right.
what we pay the hospital doesn't change. The real benefit here is to try to get the employee to where they have the money to pay the first dollar, because they'll be more judicious about paying that first dollar. And we think doing that, the theory is it lowers all of the costs when you become a consumer. The trick is in implementing it is to try to make sure that you keep your employees from being exposed in year one. They have to have enough money to pay those claims up front, their part up front. And then they're okay after that. It works itself out.
Benefits of a health savings account, of course, the employee takes more control of his health care because they're better consumers in the end. They have the same network of providers, and Mr. Johnston, they also have the same negotiated rates as employees in the other plans. Aetna provides online price comparisons, so now if you are paying out of pocket for your MRI, you can shop and see which carrier under the plan offers a better rate. Over time, we hope this reduces our medical claims, which in turn we hope will strengthen our reserves. Questions?
My company switched to an HSA a couple years ago. It was a great move. I'm a big fan of kind of as you alluded to, anything that's left in the account can be rolled into, it's like an IRA.
Yeah.
It does make the consumer, as you say, more plugged into the process. A lot of times there's a lot of shopping going on when it's coming out of your fund, coming out of your HSA. You're going to go and get the best deal you can get. There's savings all around. I'm a fan. I think it's good. Mr. Burke, did you have your hand up?
I have a question for the folks from Brown and Brown. What is the, I'll wait till you get to the.
This is Julie Freitas.
Hi, Julie, welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Thanks for being with us. What has your experience been on companies which pay incentives to employees, actual cash incentives for health items, such as you get $50 cash if you get your physical each year. You get, for the women, if they get a mammogram, if they get that each year, they get $25 in their next paycheck.
It's very positive. Typically what you see when you have employers giving incentives, you have people that would otherwise participate with those. It's when you offer disincentives is when you have the majority of the people participate in the wellness program.
Okay, kind of give me an example.
For example, you could charge smokers more than non-smokers, would be considered a disincentive.
And you consider the disincentive more successful than the incentives? Is that what your
Correct.
experience has been?
Correct.
That's interesting. What other besides smoking is a disincentive type of?
Well, in terms of premium,
Yeah.
well, you can, typically you offer wellness programs, but, you can have people go get health risk assessments or biometric screenings, or even have their BMI checked
So
each
if
year.
they don't do that, then the premium's higher?
Correct.
And has the college considered going those types of options?
Well, we've taken the first steps. Last year, we waived off the copay for the annual wellness, the health checkup, the annual health checkup. Why would we charge $30? Our claims experience is very interesting. When you go into our claims, it's not like we've had catastrophic claims, but we're paying money for things that early detection would have lowered the cost. So we ought to put our efforts into early detection, annual physicals, those kinds of things. So we waived off the copay. There's no reason not to get a doctor's
So we have
appointment.
those
Yeah, so we've
incentives there.
started down that trail.
Is diabetes the number one cost to your company?
To Brown or to your?
St. Petersburg
St. Pete? I think it's a number of different things. I think it's hypertension, it's diabetes, a lot of things that could be discovered, with a normal body mass index type of screening. And you do have a wellness program in place, and I know, Patty, now you have an additional $50,000 that you can use towards incentivizing people to participate in your wellness program, and that is integral, and part of, the HSA concept as well. Because hopefully the HSA will motivate people to become healthier, lead more healthy lifestyles, and participate in your wellness program.
Are the
Other questions?
premiums higher for smokers?
Not currently.
Are the
I don't believe today.
Ours? No.
No. Well, I think the health savings is very good.
Yeah,
What-
sorry
I'm
to
sorry,
interrupt.
please.
Most of our clients these days are moving in that direction, and the health reform exchange plans that are coming out in 2014, if the law is still in place by then, they're all HSA plans.
And how do the people get the money out of their health savings plan?
It's like a normal bank account. You can have a debit card, and you can
Use
use
debit
it at the
cards?
doctor's office.
Okay,
Mhm.
Good.
very good.
What's the next steps on
We
this?
we have to go back to our insurance committee. I think there's a huge internal dialogue to be sure people know what's going to happen, what the real numbers are. If you sign up, here's what's happened starting in January. Run some simulations for people if I get it, what are the kinds of things that would happen. Some questions accrue on what the prescription drug impact is. That's a big piece, because all of a sudden you're going to pay upfront for prescription drugs that you didn't. We have a little more work to do, but again, you're seeing it really first. Next month, we'll bring decision points on everything we have. I think the HSA, we may hold till an October decision point. I really want to be sure if staff know what we're getting, and I've got to get people interested in being part of the pilot, because that's where the real savings comes to the college.
Did I see that correctly? Is it on the HSA deductible, is it $3,000 for an individual and $6,000 for family? Was that
It's
it?
$1,500 is the deductible. The out-of-pocket maximum, the cap, which anybody would have to pay out of their pocket in your policy year, is $3,000 for an individual and $6,000 for family.
He's talking about the value of the HSA, I believe. You mean the full amount that can be funded by the HSA?
Yes, $3,100 and it's $6,250 for family.
Yeah, okay, great. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And thank you for the Brown & Brown folks being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. We're on to agenda item 7H, which is the public hearing. We'll open that public hearing now. Dr. Law, is there anything that you want to talk to on this item?
No, as you know, we're step-by-step streamlining rules and procedures. This one is just to be sure that that there's no question as to what happens in my absence. Did take some input. It might be better served, but I'm ambivalent that if the goal would be to have the chief academic officer identified as the next in command, and then the chief administrative officer second to that one. rather than by title. I don't want to derail this. I can play around or flat. The substitution would simply be, instead of Senior Vice President, Academic and Student Affairs, we would say the Chief Academic Officer, and then instead of Senior Vice President for Administrative Information Technology, rather than do them by title, do them by job. Chief Administrative Officer would be behind that, and those then are totally generic. The important signal is, what's the order of march if I'm incapacitated or otherwise not available?
Mr. Burke?
I would like to make that motion with the changes that Dr. Law suggested in the titles. And I don't want to talk to Dr. Law on this. We've just seen the organizational charts change so many times at this college, and I hate to put specific titles in a board manual which would tie potential changes in a organizational chart in the future, because I have to have that title because it's in board rules. So it would be more generic in nature, and I like that you proposed. So I'm making that motion.
Before we pass the motion, I assume, I'm wondering why at the very, of number 5, Roman number 5, it said, shall temporarily serve as in the president's place until such time as the board can designate an acting president if necessary. I don't know what the words if necessary, if that's needed there.
I think that eventuality is if I were incapacitated, if I was hit by a truck. Until you could meet as a board, I don't think the chairman of the board has the discretion to name a president.
No, but I would assume what the chairman would do would be call an immediate board meeting.
But from the, and again, not to be argumentative, from the time of the incapacitation until the board meeting, somebody has to be in charge, and that would be the if necessary part.
Okay.
Okay?
If that's the understanding, I didn't want to take something away from the board, because the board the board is responsible for that, for the acting president, and I didn't want that to reduce our duties in any way.
Mr. Gibbons.
Very quickly, Mr. Chair, I guess the way to figure that out is just ask Mr. Lang, is he comfortable with that language from the board to make sure that that it meets your requirements, but also does what Dr. Law is saying that it needs to do?
I looked at it, but I've only looked at it briefly. My understanding is that, and this is no different than I think what we've had up till this point, there is a set schedule of people, and it has been set in the past by the president as to who would succeed who in terms of temporary filling the job. This provides, Dick, in answer to your question, that there would be somebody in the absence of the board acting in any way whatsoever that would fill that role until the board could act. And I don't think it takes anything away from the board to give that coverage. I'd be happy to look at this in greater detail because I've only read it over at one time.
I would almost like maybe, I don't know how this would, comma, until the board is able to act rather than say if necessary.
I think it almost says the same thing. I think the if necessary is basically saying that these people can act if the board does not act, and you're saying that these people serve until the board does act. So it's the obverse of the same coin.
Well, I'll back off then on your comments, because that's all I was trying to say was, since that one position that we're responsible for, we want to see it delegated in some manner that wasn't appropriate by state statutes.
I don't know of anything here that conflicts with state statutes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Mr. Burke's motion, and it's been seconded to include the specific language that Dr. Law referred to. So any other discussion on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Burke.
On that, Ms. Gardner, if you can just send as part of our Friday packet the new wording that we voted on today as the new board rule.
I certainly will. Yes, sir.
Like a final copy on that. Thanks.
Okay, with reference to the public hearing then, is there anyone who would like to speak to this item? Hearing none, I would like to close the public hearing then. We're going to move on to item I, the financial report and update. Dr. Duncan?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to go over the July report for the new year, and then Dr. Duncan will be going over the year end for our FY 10-11 year. Let's get that. For the 11-12 year, we've just had the first month, the month of July, so where we normally also include a graph for you and a chart that's kind of showing where we're trending against the budget, it was just a couple of dots for the 1 month. So we'll be bringing that back next month when we can have some trending lines for you. For the first month, for July, what you're mostly going to see in the variances are just timing differences, whether there were some invoices that might have hit in June instead of July or may now be flowing over into August. Overall, we're on track. Our revenues are just over 9%. We'd expect them to be right around 10, but again, some timing with when folks are registering. Last year, we were hovering right around the 9% range as well. Our personnel budget, is our actuals, about 8%. We're looking at about 9%, but we did have that one payment that was going to be made for personnel on July 1 that we actually made in June 30 of this year. And then our expenses are running right at the 8% and 6% range. So overall, our revenues and expenses are tracking for the first month.
Question on it says insurance non-health. We must have a huge payment that comes due in the month of July because our budget is $2 million and we spent $1 million so far, if I read that correctly.
Correct. We make a payment in July, and I believe it covers about 9 months of the year, and then there's another payment that comes.
Is that the consortium?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, that would explain it, because it's just a matter of timing difference.
It's a prepaid insurance, Dick.
Yeah. And I guess when you make up the budget comparison here, you don't try to in any way predict when the payment comes due. And that's why these timing differences appear.
Right. Well, if you look in column J, what that includes is I do a 2-year trending of month by month when our different types of revenues and our different types of expenses come in. So I go back and look, when do we tend to get our payments from the state? When do our tuitions tend to come in? And then based on that, I come up with a monthly budget amount. So for revenues at that aggregate level, I would expect to see about 10%, for example. And for our expenses, about 8% based on that historical trending. But again, even with using those historical information to come up with the trends, sometimes there are those timing differences.
Yeah. We don't have a column J, I don't think.
Yeah, you have to look behind.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it there as well.
Any other questions for Ms. Connor?
I just want to thank you. When, I had my one-on-one meeting, I guess one-on-two meeting with both of you, and each of the figures which we had questions on and that you showed us, and you had Excel support schedules for every one of those figures that I asked about, and it was very impressive, the detail that you go into with all of this, and you were able to share and answer our questions so readily at those meetings. So I just want to say thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's give a quick summary on the end-of-year report. We should have a good slide coming up here in a second. Let me first just cover the general operating budget. Couple of points here. We ended the year very well, as anticipated. We actually ended the year with $4.9 million in revenue over expense. Now, that's a combination of two things. You'll recall we did make a cash payment to pay off the PICO loan of $3.8 million. And this is the second year in a row we've done that. So you'll see that showing up now in cash in our fund balance. And then we
Doug, how much is left on that loan?
The ones that we anticipated not getting paid back from the state for, I think there's all but just a very tiny portion that's still due on that. But we still have two large ones that we, at least earlier in the year, anticipated that we might still get the money back. And that's somewhere around $7 million, $7 million, I believe. But we're looking to ever get that money back.
So if we don't get it back, will we continue to pay down from this account to the?
We are holding a
wherever we
reserve
borrowed it
for
from?
that. You'll see it when I show you the fund balance. You'll see that we're holding a reserve to do that if necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's our exposure, around $7 million?
Yes.
And we've got that covered already, if need be.
Right. Good thing is, you heard some comments earlier about how much work went on, and Karen made talked about all the good work that's being done, and Susan showed you some slides. We actually spent about $2.7 million on getting things ready, everything from the renovations in the map centers to new technology. And what we actually thought we might hit our fund balance for some of that, but we ended up not using any of our existing fund balance. What we actually did was we ended up spending the cash from our contingency that we set aside in the year thinking maybe it would get called back. So we ended up very good on that. When you factor out, which on the spreadsheet I gave you, I have one column showing only recurring revenue and recurring expense. We actually carried forward about $3.8 million to this current year budget. So we spent the cash last year and we carried it forward July 1. Our unallocated reserves increased to $44.5 million, and this is just a brief sheet here, but you see that our unallocated fund balance jumped year over year from 12 million to 20 million. That's primarily due to paying off the construction loans. I asked Teresa to come up and talk briefly about some of the balances of the year end of the other funding sources we have, and I believe that you have a sheet in your packet that.
Can we go sheet?
Mm-hmm.
It's a finance question, correct?
Yeah, go.
What's the college's responsibility with the new GASB pronouncement, which deals with how we show reserves allocated and all the new ways of showing reserves?
Well, one in particular that we've had a lot of discussion about lately, that's the OPEB, the future personnel costs that come with our health plan. And we actually, you'll see in the slide that Patty showed you, showing our reserve account dropping down, then you saw a little blip up at the end of the year. We had to show that on our books, about $550,000, I believe, to fund those future benefits for GASB. We're continuing to do that every year, but we're doing it as part of our, as just part of our health expense liability account. We still maintain, though, if you'll see in here, our self-insurance reserve, which is in addition to what you saw. We still have $4.2 million on our books as an additional reserve to our self-funded plan.
But there's a GASB pronouncement that has to go into effect this coming year, which calls all reserves, I think the titles are restricted, committed, and I forget, not assigned, I think, or assigned. And I thought that the governing body on on those has to take some action to determine what our policy is going to be on that. And today, we haven't taken any policy on that from this board.
No.
So are we, as a college, and I know because we're under the Auditor General of the state, which is different from county or municipal government. There may be different rules that apply.
And that is going to be discussed at the accounting committee at the Council of Business Officers upcoming as to how the accounting manual is going to approach that, because the community colleges and state colleges, we want to be consistent depiction of our financials. And that's a little bit different, than the universities as well as municipalities and the state government. So I'll let you know when we get along those lines as to where it's going to fall.
I think it's GASB 54. I'm not positive if that's the number or not.
That's the one.
That's the one, okay. And when do we have to comply with it by?
I haven't gotten into all the meat of that yet, in getting the books closed for the year, and then I'll.
Okay.
It's on the list.
But it's my understanding it's this current fiscal year that we're in that we have to do that.
Right.
When we close the books as of next June 30th.
Correct.
Thank you, Ken.
One thing I didn't mention, you see at the second from the bottom there, the accelerated construction obligation, that $7.4 million, that is the reserve that we're holding to possibly have to address those construction loans. Okay. Teresa.
Okay. In the handout that I gave you today, you've got the the revenues and expenditures for all of the funds. And just some highlights, as Doug pointed out, we had the major operating funds. There's a balance of the unrestricted current fund, which are the lab fees, and they actually decreased $282,000 this year because the revenues were pretty stable, but we had a lot more expenditures for educational supplies. The student activity and the grant funds are considered the restricted current funds, and they're depicted here. You can see that between the two of them, it was, you added about $1.9 million to the bottom line. Oh, this is the other one. Yeah. No, the one that I handed out today, that had the sheet on it, had this cover sheet.
That's not that slide.
It's not that slide.
There's a handout right, there you go.
Turn to the revenues and expenditures. I believe it's on the very last page. There we go. So the current fund unrestricted, when you combine the operating with the lab fee, you actually had a net revenue exceeding the expenditures of $881,000 because the lab fees ate into that $1.1 million by the $282,000. And then the student activity fund and the grant funds, together they're considered the restricted current funds, and the two of them together is added about $1.9 million to the bottom line. And that is primarily because of the increased enrollments and student activity fees. And the grants, we did get monies in, and they are encumbered in purchase orders. So it's not just lying around being, not used. The auxiliary fund increased $281,000. We utilized more funds this past year to transfer out, like for the student book vouchers.
Okay, I have a question on that for your in the auxiliary fund. The schedule, I believe, that you have on the screen, and that's the one you've given us in a book, you've got $2.6 million as a current expense. What would that expenditure consist of?
Transfers out to other funds. Transfers out for the student book voucher. It's expended out of the operating fund.
Yeah, but what obviously we have the student vouchers. What are the other types of expenses that we would have transferred out?
You may recall in our budget, when there's a column that shows the sources where auxiliary funds are transferred into, $900,000 of it is the textbook vouchers. Okay. Another, probably the next largest portion of it are a lot of some of the, I would say Palladium, but all of the different arts venues that we have are funded. Subsidies for the
arts programs.
Right, the arts programs. There's a large expenditure in there for library books, and there's about $400,000 for student assistance. Those are probably the bulk of the 2.6.
Can you go ahead and put the, because I like Mr. Johnston, the 2.6 million, you said 900,000 is the voucher, the 400,000 was
Student
Student
assistance.
assistance.
Can you just give us that list?
Absolutely.
So we know what those are?
We'll give you the breakdown.
That'd be great.
I'd appreciate that, yeah.
Sure.
Okay. And the scholarship and short-term loan fund, and you'll remember we have moved away from our short-term loan fund. We did that last year by going with Nelnet with a payment plan.
Right.
So we actually had more institutional scholarships that were given out this year, bringing down our reserve in the financial aid fee area, and then some bad debt write-off that we're still doing on the old short-term loans. The agency fund doesn't, we show it as having a fund balance, but it's not a true fund balance. It's just, the agency fund is where we just have fiduciary responsibility for other agencies' funds.
And
So
those are the
it's-
grants coming in and going out.
Right. Types of, well, here, this is where we take the direct loan money, the federal direct loan money, because that's not income to us. It's just a pass-through.
Though, is it?
Well, it could be something like a grant. We're an agency account.
Right, from a municipality or another company, that sort of thing. And then the unexpended plant fund has a deficit of 9.6, and that's because in the past, we've gotten revenues over the years that we're just now expending. So they've fallen into fund balance, and now we're expending them.
The question, Dr. Law, if we were to move on Midtown, if we get the land conveyed to us, and we wanted to start the building immediately, are there enough available cash funds here to do something of that nature?
This is where I would start looking, let me say. I think so, but we've called up the fund balance. It's really important to understand allocated and unallocated. So
Right.
how much money is really in it, because it's complex.
A lot of it's allocated.
And a lot of it's allocated, and some of it is again, meeting accounting standards. If you look at the future leave reserve, that's as if everyone would cash out their leave tomorrow, and you have to have coverage to cover that. Well, it's not going to happen, so how does that work? But I believe, one, I think we need to have a board discussion on the fund balance. I'm uncomfortable with having a $44 million fund balance that is not purposeful or under your direct guidance is where we want to be. And if we want to start with some projects, again, we know that buildings will cost us in round numbers about $15 million for the 2 or 3 buildings that we've talked about. One last piece, and then we ought to get a cash flow off the capital improvement fee that we're collecting every time a student registers, and see if we couldn't put together a finance plan to move that ball forward. Take some out of your savings account, take some out of the cash that students are paying on the fly, bond that in some form, or make a lease payment for a third party to build the building, and accomplish our goals. So that's how I'll approach this over the next coming months.
So this is highly possible for us to
I
move
think
in
so.
that direction.
I think so. And yes, and I'm happy to organize that dialogue. It's careful, though. Once you start spending the savings account, you need to be really careful, just like you would do in your private life.
Right.
That's
We don't do anything that will cause any problems, but if we could expedite that process for that particular facility, I would like to see us look in all these various directions or get our hands around all this fund balance.
Well, this is the craziest thing. I mean, it's literally the best times any of us can remember for doing construction projects. The costs are as attractive as we've ever seen, and the state has no money to flow through PICO to build those. If we could do something on our own, there would be an enormous savings in the cost of those buildings. Carefully.
Right.
Mr. Burkhardt.
You mentioned the potential for bonding. Do we have capacity left to bond?
Yes, we do, and I've been holding off a little bit because as our enrollment grows, it's all projected capacity, and we had been at a pretty low ebb. We had spent a bunch of our capacity, and now it's coming back stronger. we took some steps to strengthen what we're collecting out of the baccalaureate programs. So the capital improvement fee that pays back those bonds, I think will give us, I think we have about $7 or $8 million. In fact, last time we looked, it was about $7 or $8 million. I'm hoping that gets to about $10 million in bonding capacity.
Okay, because I thought we were spent, I didn't realize we had.
No, and it's producing cash, too, at the same time. I think there's going to be a point where we say, do we want to put that cash in rather than bond? I'll tee that dialogue up, but that's how we're going to have to move forward, I think, to get anything done.
And the other point that, Mr. Johnson, this new GASB pronouncement, and the reason I was mentioning it, it does away with committed, uncommitted. There's no such terms as that going to be under the new GASB pronouncement. And it forces the board to basically look at reserves and designate them differently than we have in the past. And so it's, you know, I think it's a good time when you ever go to that, to come back to the board, and because we'll have to get recommendations from the staff on how we designation of our reserves, because it's going to make us take a look at all our reserves and we can't use those terms anymore under that pronouncement. If we're governed by that pronouncement, which I assume we are, those terms are unacceptable terms anymore. We have to, and there's different rules that designate these new way of looking at reserves and the way it's going to be reflected on a financial statement.
I, as a board member, would never have any question about not following GASB rules and just say, we're not doing our accounting in accordance with GASB.
That's fine if we get, you know, I'm not sure if the Auditor General would go
on. The Auditor General won't like that. That's why they've come out with some crazy pronouncements that Teresa and I have been going at it for a couple years. GASB has, I think it's GASB, no, it isn't GASB that does it, but they don't let us recognize as revenue only tuition from the students, not the state allocation. We got to put that down at the bottom of the line, below the line. It's not recognized as revenue.
Not
which
operating,
is stupid.
not operating revenue.
It's just ridiculous.
Have we considered taking the lab fees and putting them into a different fund?
Actually, we've gone the other way.
And what was the purpose behind that?
Putting them back into the operating fund, because they really are part of the budget, as opposed to being segregated in that fashion.
How do we ensure then that the lab fees are just being used for the intended purpose?
Oh, we have to do the accounting for, to justify that. I mean, there's a whole system that is audited that
But if it's
that
in the other
justifies
fund,
that.
how do we know as a board?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I
How do we
understand.
know as a board that the lab fees are being used just for the intended purposes if they're commingled in with the other amounts and we don't see a separate schedule?
No, I think you wouldn't see a separate schedule. You would anticipate that the Auditor General's report, which looks at weak implementation that we use to justify those fees, and that's what the Auditor General audits us on, to say, here are the costs for labs, here's the calculation for the fee. Are you moving it that way?
Is that a separate annual report each year on the lab fees that we get from the Auditor General?
No, periodically they will do fee audits, but they do look at, all of our expenditures and all of our revenues during the annual audit. And what we've done now in this fiscal year is we have put the lab fees in with the regular operating budget, and we're in the process of going through and reviewing all of the lab fees that are being charged. And we have them segregated into a cost center so that they're budgeted, and that budget is compared to the revenues. They're still being generated.
So that's your checks.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, what account are they in?
Unrestricted.
they'll-
No, I mean as far as expenditures go.
Well, they are in the current fund unrestricted. They're in Fund 16 and 17 at this report, at June 30. But this new fiscal year, they will be in funds, and still in that same column, but just part of Funds 10 and 12.
Are they all current expense, or is there any personnel cost in lab fees?
Very little personnel in lab fees.
So it's all under current expense then, that category?
Pretty much.
The bulk of it is.
The bulk of
We
it.
took a lot of the personnel out because most of it was related to technology, and we moved that over to technology fees.
And you've got some of the health, the nursing. They have some of the lab facilitators that are paid out of there, but it's minimal.
And have we Can I ask you another question? Have we resolved the problem with the state on, which always seems silly to me, when a lab fee goes into something that takes gets multiple year use, such as a musical instrument, that may cost $3,000, that obviously the lab fees are supposed to pay for, but it's not life of 5 years. The lab fee should be calculated that way. Have we?
They have, in the past audits, they have approved that.
Okay.
But the way we're budgeting now in this new arena, it's going to be, I think, a lot easier to plan out, those lab fees over that length of time, because you're budgeting for what you need each year.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd just go back to the final summary sheet here, close the year with 3.8 recurring fund balance is a good thing. That's why our budget is in good shape this year, because we could bring that 3.8. Never mind.
The last slide.
No expenditures from the fund balance, and then I do think we owe it to ourselves to have a planning session on this. I don't want to belabor it, but I don't want to be cynical. I could make a case that unallocated fund balances in state colleges look like trust funds in agencies.
Right.
And we know what has happened to those. Okay. And I
steals
think we would be ill-advised to just leave the money undiscussed and thinking that we were okay with this. That's not worthy of our best effort.
What timetable do you suggest for us to visit that?
We can bring that back, I think, next month or the month after that. I think that's an important piece of what we want to do, because it has to do with the use of those funds, and if we're going to get moving on some capital, we ought to bring everybody current on those discussions.
Because, there's always a possibility that someone looks at our fund balance and said, well, you can share that with somebody else. And that's why I think, Ken, that however we do it, we've got to do it in accounting language and the newest pronouncements, and do it in the right way. And this may take a workshop, and so devote enough time to it. So I think we'll leave it up to you to schedule that event.
Okay. Mr. Burke.
Doug, one last item. This report that you sent us as part of our board packet, what are we supposed to gain from this?
Is that the actual? Oh, well. It is all you will ever want to see, and about what we spent. Is that the budget copy, or is that the actual?
Financial report actual.
Oh, that's just that is the detailed line by line actual expenditures for last fiscal year as of June 30th.
But you can see the difference between budget and actual, because the budget for last year was going into a lot of cost centers.
Right.
And the actual expenditures went to various classifications.
Right.
And I assume that the one next year will have a better comparison.
One of the biggest differences you'll see next year is that we've allocated the adjunct budget to the specific departments, whereas it's been aggregated. So that's why you see that difference in there on the personnel and a lot of the academic cost centers.
May I suggest in the future, for these types of reports, you give us a link on the web where it's going to be, and don't, in the interest of saving trees, let's not print these things, just because I know why we're doing this, but I find it of no use. These reports, you're giving us management reports, and we appreciate those and have the opportunity to question the heck out of those and to get us all our questions answered. But this type of report is detail that's really not necessary. But you can send it to us with a link, and we can, just in the interest of saving trees.
Yeah. Well, Ken, this also, as I was asking Doug, if we ever wanted to know a cost of a program, this shows us that they have the computer expertise to break out a program Like, for instance, this could tell us what is our true cost and revenue on the nursing program. And if push comes to shove where we got into a tight position financially, this kind of information would be very helpful to us in making management decisions of what programs cost X amount. And I think for that purpose, that would be good. But I wrote down in here, is this worth providing the board? And I'm with Ken on that. When I start looking through this, and it only takes a nerdy accountant to start looking at this, nobody else, I'm sure, would have any interest or desire to look at it.
We did create a page
Okay.
where they're all
Yeah.
out there
Great,
electronically.
great. Mr. Gibbons?
I thank you for the report. Well, I agree with Mr. Burke in light of all of the things that have gone on in the recent, with the St. Pete Times. I think it was necessary for this particular time, but going forward, I think I understand why you did it, and I appreciate it. So I don't want us to sit here and beat up on staff or make it sound like we didn't need to do it, because in light of what was going on, we probably needed to get this report. So
Okay.
let's move forward. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Item 7J, motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Discussion.
Let's get out of here.
Since we're apparently, there was a question raised, and I asked for the cost of really combining, since the foundation and the Alumni Association are operating under the same jurisdiction, if for some reason we could make them all into one, we could save about, Adele, I don't think you're here, but can you answer the question?
I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number, but I was given.
It was about $30,000 or $40,000 that we could save, and a lot of that was audit costs. And Mr. President, if there's a way that those two associations could be formally put together, they're operating together now, we can save, I know, one additional audit cost, and I didn't think it was $30,000, but it might be. Adele put together in a number, I think was $30,000 or $40,000 that we can save in administrative costs if those two entities were really one. And now they're working together. That's just a formal thing to save us some costs going forward.
Dr. Law, do you want to look at that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'd be happy to save $30,000 or $40,000.
Sure. Anything else?
I just hope we're sensitive again to the Alumni Association Board. And I
Happy to
know-
look at it, is what I said.
And
Take a look.
Yeah, I don't mean to maybe somehow, Ken, they could still be incorporated in underneath Francis's umbrella, but I was just thinking cost savings.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 7K, workforce. I know in our packet we have a resolution that we have been asked to approve. Hopefully you've had to taken a glance at that. Before we do that, Dr. Law, is there?
No, just my thanks for all of you for being part of that initiative a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. It sent a
good.
very strong signal that Mr. Burke, we had called to the governor's attention. In fact, we had been working behind the scenes to see if we could get him to call in to congratulate all of you. So I know he is aware of that effort. Okay.
I have my phone on.
No, this is how you build support in a community.
Yep.
There are good things that happened at that meeting, so thank you for your efforts.
And I think that we're a player in this whole county. And we ought to be involved. I complained to some of the people on the executive summary because it was just about a half a page tied into education. And if you heard Dr. Connolly talking about Learn to Earn, we're a major player in the producing of jobs and helping people advance, and we should be part of this overall entity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a very nice way to showcase the collaborative labs as well. That was just a fabulous exercise, and kudos to all those who were responsible for that. So, on the resolution, if we could have
So
a
moved.
motion. Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Law?
Just very briefly, we've already talked about the fall faculty meeting. The Pinellas County Legislative Delegation meeting is Wednesday, September 14th, 2011. I'll be sure you have time and place. Did we send out a notice already to you? Art?
Yes.
Yes, we
I
did.
think so,
Yes.
okay.
And we got a parking pass.
Okay, then I will be there, and others should join us, and we'll try to have a very tidy, single page of our concerns. I know how these things work, and...
We get about 3 minutes, don't we?
Yes, and I'm lobbying for some space at the start of the meeting, but so is everybody else. I'll meet with Jim Frisch, and so we will be there.
Excellent. Anything else?
No, sir.
Any other agenda items? I know we gave a couple of items to Dr. Law today to work on for next month, so anything else? So our next meeting is here at the Epicenter on September 20th, 8:30 in the morning. If there's nothing else to come before the board, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.